You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So interestingly, before the GLP-1 agonist for weight loss, I didn't have a lot of men come in for weight loss drugs. It was primarily the female patients, and I saw a lot of male patients. My practice was probably 52-48. I saw a lot of men and women almost evenly, but because I did a lot of gynecology, I saw a little bit more women. But interestingly, you would usually have women asking for weight loss drugs. We did have some men who needed to have bariatric surgery, gastric sleeve or lap band. At the time, lap band had been popular. So I would refer them to a bariatric specialist and they would decide what the best route would be. But you didn't really have a lot of men asking for weight loss drugs. And, is it because they, maybe looked at medications differently? Remember, for years preceding the 2000s, people looked at medication as like a weakness. I mean, my father did not want to take cholesterol medication. I mean, he took the high blood pressure medication and diabetes medication reluctantly, but he was very anti-medicine, whereas females, especially in the 80s and 90s, were a little bit more receptive. Why? Because we were already used to taking birth control pills, and taking a pill wasn't that difficult. But for you to not be on a medication, then all of a sudden have to take one, that's a big step. And so, yeah, you saw it more in the female population. These GLP-1 agonists come, and women flocked to them, even though these GLP-1 agonists had been used in the diabetic population. And so many women told their partners or the men in their lives, you need to do this. So men started using GLP-1s, and we're seeing more and more men do, but they don't seem to be losing the same amount of weight that women do. Apparently women are losing more weight than men on these. I think a recent study that was done showed, I think women's body weight reduction dropped by like 10% and men's body weight was 7%. Still huge, but men didn't seem to do as well as women. They can still do well. Now, is it because, like my husband can skip meals. He can fast all day. And I'm thinking to myself going, there's a piece of chocolate cake right there. You don't want to stick your finger in it? And so maybe, and not trying to stereotype women, but I know for me, there's a piece of chocolate cake. That sucker, even if it's just the frosting, is going into my mouth. I cannot pass a piece of chocolate cake up. No, sorry. God forbid I ever become, insulin-dependent diabetic. I'll just have to always carry extra insulin on me and say, you know what? I'm just going to give myself an extra dose. But I'm eating that chocolate cake. I notice for me, if I want, to not be bloated and my bowels having issues, I have to, make sure I get a little bit of food every couple hours. And I have a whole, my husband's like, I don't have time to eat. No big deal. So it could be that these GLP-1s, if you're gaining weight because you eat frequently, is minimizing that. Whereas if you're already saying, I don't have to look at food, then maybe it doesn't have that same effect. Well, there's been some studies looking at why it affects women and men differently. So neurosciencenews.com is talking about these GLP-1 drugs. And a study has created the first comprehensive sex-specific atlas of GLP-1 expression. They mapped 25 distinct brain regions. And researchers discovered startling geographic differences between males and females. Now, we know the male and female brain can be different, but why are these drugs affecting them differently? They say these findings explain why females often experience stronger appetite suppression and weight loss on these drugs, and suggest that the benefits of GLP-1 analogs could extend to sex-specific treatments for addiction, depression, and even Alzheimer's disease. So if they map the brain and they go, this is interesting, the hindbrain versus the frontal versus the hippocampus versus, if they look at that and they go, this is how women are absorbing or interacting with the medication, then for those people recalcitrant to other treatments like depression, etc., this might offer clues. So pretty cool. So researchers, how they did this was they used high sensitivity RNA scope technology to map GLP-1 at a single transcript resolution across 25 different brain nuclei and subnuclei. They found for the female advantage that the GLP-1 density was found to be significantly higher. Because remember, these are GLP-1 agonists, so they pretend to be GLP. And it was found to be more significantly higher in certain hindbrain regions in females, correlating with clinical data showing women often lose more weight than men with these medications. The male-specific patterns were more prevalent, the GLP-1, in their olfactory bulb. Now, that's interesting. That could explain why when men smell, there's a study of male mice where they're more susceptible to food odor-driven insulin spikes and hyperinsulinemia, meaning what they smell could affect their insulin levels. So the GLP-1 areas, they looked at areas responsible for reward processing. They showed expression only in females, motivated behavior in the lateral hypothalamus, which showed expression only in males. So basically, if they can tell where you're getting your reward centers, where you're, they I guess I could learn how to manipulate it better. And when it comes to these medications, it is a manipulation. You're taking a medication to make your brain feel like you're full. This is why many people notice after months or a year of use, it's just not working because their body's like, no. I figured this drug out. No, nature will always beat science, or nature will always beat. It's a man digs, God lengths, man works, God laughs. But nature will always find a way to overcome something human is trying to do. But in terms of the Alzheimer's link, they said because GLP-1 transcripts were detected in regions vulnerable to neurodegeneration. So the study allows this roadmap for using drugs to treat cognitive decline and neuroinflammation. So what are we learning about here? Well, what we're learning is, we're being told that these medications could help us with addiction. These medications could help us with a whole variety of things. And yes, when they work, these are pretty good. Why do they work? And if we could figure out why they work, then we might be able to expand this to other sorts of medications and other sorts of treatments. But it is interesting how women it's not surprising, but it is interesting that women seem to have, I guess, more weight loss or more of an effect. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So they're saying young Gen Z women are becoming the two N.E.E.Ts, or the, a big population of N.E.E.Ts. Now, we're not talking neat, like groovy or cool. So for those of you not familiar with the term NEET, it is an acronym standing for, and I apologize because now my computer is acting up. This is ridiculous. Now my computer, okay, come on. It's like not in education, employment, or training. That's what NEET stands for. But I apologize that I don't have my study here because I had some pretty good data for you guys. And I don't understand why it's not showing up. So the idea that women now, okay, I mean, it used to be men. I think 1 in 5 men were unemployed. Now 1 in 4 women are unemployed. But it's more than that. It's not only not unemployed, but not also in education or training. So not in employment, education, or training. 1 in 4 women, and we're not talking about senior citizens. We're talking about vibrant young Gen Zs. That's frightening. Just to quickly review, baby boomers were born between 1945 and 65, although we give it a lot of baby boomers who were born in 42 and 44 say they're baby boomers. I'm fine with that. If, the World War II era, even though technically they're calling those traditionalists, a lot of my baby boomer friends and family members say they're baby boomers. I'm fine with that. Baby boomers born, before 1965, between 1965 and 1980, you're a Gen X. If between 1980 and 1995, you're a millennial. Between 1995 and 2010, you're a Gen Z, which means you're 20 to 30 years old. And then from 2010 to 2025, Generation Alpha. And then from 2025 on is Generation Beta. Yes, I am going to write a book on Generation Beta because I did a Generation Alpha book. I'm working on it. So the now this big, this huge number of young women where they say about right now 1 million young women in the UK are classified as not in education, employment, or training. The numbers are even higher in America, and that female unemployment is spiking. And they say one of the reasons why it's spiking is not only AI, but because they might have poor health, and it could be their education levels. So I guess what this article is talking about is how, and I apologize about my computer because I read it. It was interesting. So in the, let's say, olden days, if you had a young man in school and he was 4.5 GPA and he was able to get into college, and then in college he could get a college degree, and then he could go to white collar jobs or go and become a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer or Wall Street or whatever. All right. If somebody wasn't able to go to college or get the SAT scores, etc., then they went more into at the time, more of the non-white collar suit jobs, construction, trades, which, by the way, are very, very lucrative and I think very, very cool jobs. I would not want to sit at a desk or be in meetings. I don't really like suits per se. But in the past, that's how things were driven. So where would women go? So if women were able to go into higher education and go off to become lawyers and dentists and doctors and Wall Street, they did that. But if a woman, shall we say, did not get to secure one of those higher education degrees, they would not necessarily go into construction or go into mechanic or welding. Some do, but many of them would then go into retail or customer service. Well, what society is finding now is AI is changing a lot of that. So many people don't go into a store, they buy online. Well, if that store is not needing to have people there because it's not like Macy's, people are shopping online, then you're not going to have a job. Same thing with customer service. You used to have to sit there and answer the phone. Well, now there's bots. And so they're saying what's happening is many of these women who would have had a job if they chose not to go to college or get one of these higher education degrees or got it and couldn't get a job with it. There was a place for them still, and now those jobs are shrinking. So this term NEET, when you look at it, well, I'm not employed, I'm not in education, and I'm not in training. So if somebody is not employed, advice that I've given to you all is go back to school. Night school, there's online classes, online degrees, go back to school. Or train, become an apprentice, train for another job. Easier said than done. Those jobs aren't out there. Now, maybe they are in some areas, but not for everyone. But then they're talking about people being sick, their health issues. Now, mind you, we do have rising disability. Most cancer deaths under age 50 are now being attributed to colon cancer. We're seeing colon cancer on the rise, etc. But what I'm seeing personally from patients is, when I ask them, they'll call in, they'll be sick, and I'm like, do you need a work note? They go, oh, I don't work. Okay, and they're 26. I go, oh, you don't work? Oh, I'm sorry. Lost your job? Oh, no. Medical. Oh. And I'm looking at their medical history. And there's nothing on their medical history. They're not on any medications. They're calling for flu or something. And I'm like, oh, so you have a medical disability. Let me add that to your medical history. And they're like, no. It just, I can't stand, and I can't sit. And it's just too hard on me physically. And I'm like, would you like to see a medical provider for that? Because that's got to be pretty disabling. And the American with Disabilities Act, can be there to protect you and help you with jobs and accommodations. No. I'm fine. Thank you. Okay. Well, in the olden days, if you had asthma, you had to go to work. If you had irritable bowel syndrome, you had to go to work. If you were pregnant, I worked up until the day I delivered. That was the way things were. And I'm not saying it has to be that severe. We do, if you need bed rest, be on bed rest. I mean, if you're battling cancer, battle cancer. But, we would work because for some of us, it would, help our sanity. It would bring an income. It would, keep us connected with others. But I had another patient that said, no, I don't work because I got migraines. Now, migraines are debilitating. Trust me. But so you don't have a job at all, or you just call out when you have a migraine? Oh, no, I just won't take a job at all. Yeah, and I get it. If you suffer from migraines, or you, let's say, have bad menorrhagia, where you bleed heavily with your period, it's really difficult to bring that up in a job interview, saying, I'm going to be calling out once a month because I got endometriosis, which is really bad, or I got bad periods. Or, I got irritable bowel and I'm going to be having explosive diarrhea. So I understand that that's difficult. But what employers are now doing is, I don't know when you apply for jobs, it asks if you have a disability under the ADA. And then you could say, although you might want your medical conditions private, but employers, oftentimes will want to know so they can make accommodations. Are they going to hire you? Are they going to not hire you as a result? No, that's a crapshoot. But, it's interesting because for me, it was, you just had to work. You got to support the family. You have to work. Yeah, I'm going to have a bad period. I'm going to have pain. I'm going to have explosive diarrhea. I'm going to have migraines. I'm going to be, you work. But now you have individuals going, I'm going to need to call out. And if I'm going to need to call out, I better not take the job. Just like, as we're seeing with childbirth, we're having a lot of young people say, I won't handle the pain, so I don't want to get pregnant. And it's a much different thinking than us Gen X's or millennials or baby boomers had. Not all Gen Zs think like that. But for us, it's like, well, you're going to have a family. Is it going to hurt? Yeah, the labor's going to hurt. Am I going to bleed, tear? Probably. All right, that sucks, but I got to do what I got to do. You didn't think twice. Yeah, am I going to have a bad day at work? Is this going to, flare up? Is my hemorrhoid going to flare up? Yeah, so bring a hemorrhoid pillow to work. It was just, you're going to have to deal. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. Trust me, I was doing 36 plus hour shifts. in medical school with periods and with, it was rough. Menstrual cramps. I mean, wow. I had to, while I had morning sickness, be in an 8-hour commando ENT procedure while I was, in my first trimester. Not easy. So, but I'm noticing a lot of younger people are like, I'm going to have to call out once a month, so I'm not going to work. So let's kind of look at this NEET thing, because it's not too neat. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So last night I got an alert that an Iran-linked hacker group has claimed responsibility for a cyber attack of a medical tech company. Now, this appears to be one of the first significant instances of Iran hacking an American company. I'm a little suspicious about that. I'm not really buying that. I'm sure we've had hacks and Iran has been behind it, but this is something that has been now very public. And the company Stryker produces Stryker from like X-Men. Stryker produces a range of medical equipment and technology. It's headquartered in Michigan. Now, this is being reported by NBC News. And they said, historically, Iran has conducted some of the most infamous wiper cyber attacks on national enemies, aimed to simply erase all data on computers' networks. Victims include Saudi Aramco, Saudi Arabia's national oil company, and in 2012, the Sands Casino in 2014. And I believe they're talking about the Sands Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, run and owned at the time by Sheldon Adelson. Now, since the war started, they say some established hacker groups sympathetic to Iranian leadership have claimed minor attacks, but most have been relegated to briefly altering the appearance of a website, didn't really have a major impact. Some tech and cybersecurity companies, including Google and the email cybersecurity company Proofpoint, have told NBC News that they have largely seen Iran's hackers conducting espionage related to the war. But now this is attacking a medical tech company. This is a different type. And it deleted information from devices. One Stryker employee who requested not to be identified because they are not authorized to speak for the company said that the employee's work-issued phones stopped working, dragging work and communications with colleagues to a standstill. And they say the Handala team has claimed responsibility for the Stryker hack in statements posted to its Telegram and X accounts. Look, they're going to take credit, Look at what we did. I think that's so stupid. Especially when, you think it was successful and we're all going, okay, so it's a medical tech. So you stopped employees in this medical tech company talking to each other. Why? But they like to brag. So we don't have a lot of information on the hack, according to NBC News, but they say the hack points to the likelihood that hackers have been able to gain access to the company's Microsoft Intune account, which the employee confirms Stryker uses. From there, Handala appears to have wiped some employees' devices back to factory settings. They seem to have obtained access to the Microsoft Intune Management Console. This is a solution for managing corporate devices. So what does this mean? Well, Microsoft's website describes the remote wipe feature as commonly used when a device needs to be retired, repurposed, reset for troubleshooting, or securely erased if lost or stolen. So being that outside entities could then attack this, they could attack other things that could wipe out the function or the data. Like my iPhone. If somebody did that, I would lose my pictures, my contacts. Hopefully it's already uploaded to the cloud, but I got to pay for cloud storage. I think I need to upgrade that. But, that's a pain in the butt. But there's still workarounds. I'm just wondering why the medical company, and I don't even know if they even demanded a ransom. My issue being a doctor is now much of the tech we're using is not just battery operated, it's linked to software. Why? Well, because now your doctor could get the data. I mean, it used to be, you would do like a monitor at home, or you would do a sleep study, and then we would have to hand deliver the data. Now it just gets delivered remotely. Doctors are able to know what your glucose monitor is doing. We get to know what your heart monitor is doing. Well, for that to happen, there has to be then vulnerability within the cybersphere. There has to be, our ability to transfer this information. It should be secure, but there's vulnerabilities with that. I mean, for me, if a hacker sees what my heart rhythm is doing, I don't want them to do, but if I did it, I'm like, well, I want my doctor to know. So if this is what I have to sacrifice, if I have to sacrifice my privacy, I'll take what I can get. But we're really relying on so much tech these days that what else could they do? Besides wiping out information, could they wipe the ability for it to work? Could they stop our pacemakers? Yeah, they can. Could they affect the insulin? Give us too much? I mean, if you're on a continuous glucose monitor and then you are also on an insulin pump, I mean, it shouldn't be hacked, but if that potential's there, that's pretty dangerous. Now, the odds of a militant group going, what I'm going to do is target all the insulin-dependent diabetics or target all of those on pacemakers. Yeah, I mean, the odds of that is slim. But when you have a company or a country like Iran that right now is just looks like, scrambling, they might say, look, we want to kill a bunch of people and kill them fast. Now, again, I don't think they're there yet. I don't want people to fear that. But as we are entrusting so much to tech, we need to understand that could be pretty dangerous. Another thing I'm really worried about are these lithium batteries. I mean, remember how Israel was able to very selectively kill Hezbollah and terrorists through their pagers and injure them. I mean, the capability is there. So if we are relying on lithium batteries for things, and these lithium batteries are connected to a computer system, could possibly a terrorist have that ability to ignite or cause something to happen? I don't think so. I think our Teslas are pretty safe. But this is where I am concerned. I mean, because, World War III or World War IV, whatever, seems to come our way, is going to be a lot of cyber attacking. I mean, we're seeing Iran right now do, a lot of basic warfare with their missiles and their cluster, bombs and things like that. But when when you can figure out a way to attack the enemy who's far, far away and do that when you don't have missiles that could reach that far and you don't have boots on the ground, yes, they are going to embrace this. So, seeing what happened with this is pretty concerning. Another thing that's really concerning to me is apparently in San Francisco, there was voter petition fraud. And the California Secretary of State is now investigating apparent voter petition fraud after a viral video showed a group of San Francisco individuals illegally offering $5 per signature and even directing some to use a fake name. The New York Post says the Secretary of State is responsible for vetting the signatures with help from local election offices, said it is illegal to offer cash for signatures and to knowingly file petitions that include forged signatures. Now, are they going to do anything about it? I don't know. Secretary of State's office said it cannot comment on an investigation, but its investigation unit is working closely with law enforcement when applicable to ensure those who abuse our system are held accountable. So apparently, being paid $5 to sign a ballot, obviously this is outrage. Republicans, they want to know what the hell is going on. And I don't know exactly what the petition was for, but they do feel it had to do with something that they wanted to put on the ballot that would help the Democrats. And I'm sorry, fraud exists. For somebody to say, don't worry about mail-in ballots, trust me, there are always going to be individuals who are going to want to mess with the system. And they're going to want to do it very illegitimately. And we have to have checks and balances. And it took a video going viral to show this. I mean, are they really, when they're looking at these petitions, really checking every name? Are they checking every mail-in ballot? My guess, no. So we'll see what happens. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Dahlia. As many of you know, I lost another colleague to suicide. And tragically, tens of thousands of Americans, including hundreds of physicians, take their lives each year. Why is suicide so common? Why doctors? Even medical students have alarming suicide rates. Nurse burnout is at an all-time high. Maybe it's the monstrous workloads we face every day. Maybe it's because of burnout, malpractice suits, online reviews. Medicine has changed so rapidly that it's almost unrecognizable to those of us who entered this field and wanted to take it by storm. But there's not a lot of resources out there for healthcare providers who deny that they are struggling or at risk. So my book, The Depressed Doctor, aims to change that for both the physician and medical student and anyone else who is struggling. Find The Depressed Doctor on Amazon or at drdahlia.com. And if you are currently struggling, call or text 988, the National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. Don't wait. The silence is killing us.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So, these active shooters, unfortunately, we've had a couple incidents today, one at Old Dominion University and then another near a synagogue in Michigan. So we're being told right now that the gunman is dead, but 2 ROTC members are critically injured as there was a shooting at Old Dominion University. Apparently the all clear has been given after the shooting that happened this morning, but 2 people have been critically hurt. Statement issued by the U.S. Army Cadet Command. It was confirmed that the victims were members of the university's ROTC program. They say we are deeply saddened from the active shooter incident that occurred at Old Dominion University on March 12, 2026, according to WAVY. We can confirm that 2 members of the university ROTC program were shot and were taken to a local hospital to treat their injuries. A gunman opened fire at Constant Hall at about 10:50 a.m. 2 people were injured as a result and were taken to a local hospital. They've been taken to Centara Norfolk General Hospital in critical condition. God, thank God they survived, but currently no longer an active threat. They still want the area avoided if possible so they can continue to do their work. So Old Dominion has canceled classes and suspended operations on the main campus for the remainder of the day. There is going to be an ongoing investigation. They say ODU sophomore, Old Dominion University sophomore Logan Hayes was in Constant Hall taking a test when the active shooter situation started. He said the fire alarm went off and he ran out of the building. As soon as he got outside, he heard a multitude of gunshots go off and people screaming. So tragic. Nearby elementary schools also placed on lockdown temporarily, and officials said students were told to shelter in place in nearby Norfolk High School. And so at least this situation is over. Not sure why it happened, but I got to tell you, these campuses, I attend campus a lot to teach, and I understand that there's you cannot bring a gun on campus. And so I always feel kind of vulnerable because if there is a shooter, I want to be able to stop him. But the law says you can't bring a weapon. But people who do bring weapons, I do not follow the laws. And so how do you allow good people to help stop, bad people from doing what they're doing? And unfortunately, these college campuses are so vulnerable. And if somebody wants victims or certain victims or a lot of victims, they can't protect themselves. Now, we're being told that Michigan police are responding to an active shooting incident at a synagogue. This is being reported by Fox News. Michigan State Police are responding to an active shooting at a Reform Jewish synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan. Reform is so you have the Orthodox, which is very strict. You have the conservative that is less strict, but not as liberal. And then you have the liberal or Reformed temples. And the shooting happened at about 12:30 local time at Temple Israel. Bloomfield Township Police confirmed, and these schools are right now in secure mode. They say this is out of precaution. I guess instead of lockdown, they're using the term secure. They say no threats right now to Bloomfield high schools at this time, or Hill schools at this time. We are not sure exactly what prompted this, why. Of course, we are concerned about sleeper cells. I think Belgium had a synagogue shooting. Canada, in Toronto, they had a shooting. The anti-Semitism, has never gone away. And, we those of us Jews who, had relatives who survived the Holocaust, I remember hearing about it. And I remember being very, very fearful of Nazis and being fearful of people who wanted us dead or who said that the Holocaust didn't happen, Holocaust deniers. But I was very grateful when I grew up that the amount of anti-Semitism I incurred was not as severe as my other relatives who had perished. And, if my grandmother and grandfather didn't escape, I wouldn't be alive. And I'm very grateful my grandmother escaped Germany and my grandfather escaped Austria. They fled to Israel. At the time it was called Palestine, and then they had my father. Israel becomes a state in 1948. My grandmother was able to get a visa to America. They wanted to come to America, but America didn't allow them, allow a lot of people for decades. But then it was in the 1960s that they allowed German descendants who were survivors of the Holocaust to come in. So in the 1960s, she was able to then come to America. And so she took my aunt, her husband, and then when my father finished his mandatory in Israel, everybody has to serve in the military. After he completed his mandatory military training and service, then he came to America, learned the language, studied for the test, became a citizen, dates my mom, marries her, has me. And that's how I'm here. And growing up, it was always like, you got to watch for this, you got to watch for this. And I was like, look, the Holocaust isn't happening again. We won't let it happen again. Yes, I'm going to be aware, but, I just didn't see and we knew this was happening, and we knew, and I was too young for Munich, but where the Israeli Olympians were slaughtered, and I knew this stuff happened, but it wasn't as among us or as it is now, and after the Hamas attack on Israel, it really filtered out, or really did tease out a lot of individuals who just want to be anti-Israel or anti-Jewish. As I talked about that meme, there was that woman holding a sign saying "Free Palestinians" and her shirt says "blank Trump." Yet in the next picture, "Don't free Iranians," and her shirt says "blank Trump." And I go, so what is it, guys? Is it where's all the protesters for the Iranian individuals and the Iranian citizens who are being slaughtered and oppressed? I mean, where's all the women speaking out for those women soccer players that are being threatened? And if they go back, who knows what happens to them? I thought we're all about and by the way, for free Palestine from Hamas. Hamas has been running things in Gaza. So there's such, I think, hypocrisy, and my family has always known about anti-Semitism, but we haven't seen this much. I mean, it's bad. And maybe it's because social media allows people to say what they want to say. And I'm even just hearing such stupidity. That's not what happened. That's not what's going on. That's not. And so unfortunately, it's going to feed even more attacks on synagogues, on Jewish schools, not to mention Catholic schools are at risk. Look at what happened in Minneapolis. I mean, if people think, well, you know what, I'm good because I'm not Jewish, so I'm in the clear. No, you're not, because the hate will extend everywhere. Hitler didn't just kill Jews. He killed Catholics. He killed people of the LGBTQIA plus community. He killed gypsies or accused gypsies. I mean, when somebody is going to kill or hate, they expand it to everybody. I mean, that's just, so nobody's in the clear. When you see a synagogue attacked or a church attacked, even if you're atheist, people are going to come after you too. And so we have to be vigilant. Unfortunately, there are really, really bad people out there. Not sure why the Old Dominion University shooting happened. I mean, we have people who are sick in the head. But, as a Jew, I'm very, very grateful for my Christian and Catholic and Muslim brothers and sisters who stand up against anti-Semitism and hate, because they understand that the hate extends to everybody. And for people to try to be in a place of worship, that's what was so bad about the church intrusion by ICE protesters. People are trying to pray. Church, synagogue, mosque, they're supposed to be a place, for safety and for community. So when you see that stuff, breach it, it's nerve-wracking. 1-877-Dolly, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.